friends, and welcome back for another video. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. I would love to have you subscribe and join the tribe. We do mom life together. We talk all about motherhood and making it easier, living it with purpose. So if any of that interests you, please subscribe. So today's video is all about respite care, the horrible, the helpful, and the necessary. So I recently used my first respite experience. Well, I should say second, but the first time was with someone who's more like a friend. So she's technically a respite care provider, but it more felt like I was just asking a friend to babysit. I'm talking about respite with somebody that you don't know, somebody approved by your agency to take care of your foster children. So first, let's address the horrible. I was very against respite because the child you are caring for has already been through trauma, and you leaving them again, to me, it just didn't sit right with me. I feel like as a foster parent, I take on the responsibility to care for that child, and then passing them off to another foster parent just kind of felt horrible to me. However, in some cases, it is completely necessary in the fact that we left the country and we're not allowed to take our foster child. And no matter what we did, there was no way we were going to be able to take our foster child with us. Because of the stage of where her legal case was, there was no way it was going to be approved. I mean, if you have a foster child for years and years, that means if you're not going to use respite, you're not going to go on vacation, and you're not ever going to leave the country or leave your province or state. So for us, it came to a point where it was necessary. Our foster daughter was over 1.5 years old, and we had had this trip that we had been hoping to go on for quite a while, and we kept putting it off and putting it off, hoping that one way or another we would be able to either take her with us or she would no longer be in our home. Not that we were hoping that, but that we would go on the trip when one of the two options happened. But it got to the point where it was just really evident that we needed to go on the trip. So we put her in respite care for 2 weeks, and the thought of that honestly killed me. However, I asked our worker to introduce me to somebody who, was at a similar stage of life, who had kids around the same age, who had similar morals and values, like somebody I would feel really confident leaving her with. And she did. And the person that I ended up leaving her with was wonderful and has become a friend now. She did such a good job caring for our girl while we were gone. She let us FaceTime with her. We went to her house beforehand and had a play date so our foster daughter could get used to the environment and used to the new caregiver. And then we came back for her. So it didn't cause any trauma. It was no different than her going to a family member for an extended stay and us returning to her. So when I say necessary, it was necessary for that reason, but it also can be necessary sometimes for your mental health. Caring and parenting foster children, especially older foster children who really struggle with behaviors, can be very, very hard, and you need a respite. You need a reprieve from that constant trauma parenting. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going anywhere. It just might mean that you need some time for yourself in order to regroup so that you can continue parenting that child and not break up the placement, or so that your biological children can have some individual one-on-one time with you when they're not always being pushed to the back because your foster child's trauma behaviors are kind of taking over your life. There is definitely a time where it is necessary. Because I only foster kids 0 to 4, we saw it in a couple of our older placements, but for the most part, it's been babies. So I've never had to take that kind of respite break. But I know you guys that are watched, you foster all different ages, and sometimes it is absolutely necessary, and you can't feel guilty about taking that break. I don't want you to burn out as a foster parent. I want you guys to be doing this as long as you can, as long as you feel called to. And in order to foster parent well, you need to have mental breaks and emotional breaks, because it is not easy. It's not just parenting a typical child. It is difficult, and you need to make sure you take that time for yourself, for your relationship with your spouse, your significant other, for your relationship with your children. You need that time. So don't feel guilty about taking respite care if you're getting to that point. Respite care can be hugely helpful if you just allow yourself to get over the thought that you think you're causing them more trauma, because it took a long time for me to get over that, and I did not want to use respite care in the beginning. But I think, foster parents that have been doing it longer than me were probably like, oh yeah, you'll use it eventually, Kate. And of course we did, and I 100% advocate for it. So if you're a new foster parent and your mind frame was the same that mine was as a new foster parent, please don't feel that way. Don't feel any guilt. Use the respite care. I know some agencies that 1 week in a month they provide like a paid respite care because they think it's so vital and important to foster parenting. I wish all agencies were like that. and it would be your choice as the foster parent whether to use it or not, but to have those supports in place so that you could easily take respite care. Because for us, it wasn't that easy. We didn't want our girl going to a stranger. It's one thing if you've had the child for just a few weeks or even a few months, but our child has been with us for a year and a half and knows nobody else. We are the only parents she knows. So it was a really hard thing for me to just wrap my head around mentally that she would be somewhere away from us for 2 weeks. This is another reason why I think it is so valuable to make friendships with other foster parents in your agency so that you can become respite providers for each other. Like I said, we had a couple night respite before when our little one was about 3 months old because we had already had a trip planned to the States before we even knew about our little one. But she's like a friend. We go to support group together. I cut her hair. So it just felt like she was going to a friend's house. So I definitely encourage you to find somebody like that can be your go-to respite provider, and you can maybe be their go-to respite provider because that makes it a lot easier. But respite is absolutely essential to the well-being of foster parents, and it is a necessary thing, and there's no reason to feel guilt about it. I know a lot of foster parents do, just like I did, but trust me, after a few years of experience at this, I know that there's absolutely no reason to feel guilt about it. You are doing the best that you can helping these kids. You didn't put them in the situation that they're in. As much as you can minimize trauma and moving and changing homes, that is amazing. But you can make respite fun, like a sleepover and they're going to their friends, and let them get to know the person first so it's not a stranger. But respite is an absolute essential to a foster parent's well-being as well as to a foster parent's just life in general, because otherwise there's so many limitations put on to what you can and can't do as far as vacations and visiting family who are out of state when you're a foster parent. So just get used to the idea of respite care and know that it is okay. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you have used respite care, let me know your experience and thoughts about it in the comments down below. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you're new. I would love to have you, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.